Hi there lovely crafters, I am Rachita and I am back with another video for Craftyscrappers. So March was the month of colors and Craftyscrappers did a lovely digital stamp release on Holi. So today I am going to show you how to use smaller elements of your stamp sets using the beautiful Peonies stamp set by Craftyscrappers. These are the 4 cards that I am going to show you the making of. Plus, I will also show you how I made this Holi card using the newly released digital stamps. Let us start with this one here. To begin with, I took a slimline watercolor card base and started stamping all the small peony stamps in a line using different colors of dye inks. I used Craftyscrappers dye inks, which are also water reactive. The colors I used are Blueprint, Lavender, Arctic, Peacock, Daffodil, Sunflower and Apple. I used Lemonade and Forest for the leaves. These are all mentioned in the description below. I used the same ink colors for filling in the peonies and pulled out droplet shapes from the same using some water. Then I stamped the outlines with the same colors again to make the images appear crisp. For the leaves, I didn't fill in any color, just pulled out the colors from the outlines and then re-stamped to make them crisp. Now comes the fun part, ink blending. Here is a beautifully designed 8 by 8 inches stencil called Splash from Craftyscrappers. I masked the stencil as per my requirement and then blended the same ink colors as the peonies underneath the droplets through the stencil. As you can see, these water reactive inks blend beautifully. So after creating those pretty splashes, I used my shimmer pen to add some shimmer here and there on the card. To add the sentiment, I took a strip of black cardstock and added some colorful splatters on it with gouache. Then I added a strip of double-sided adhesive to it, shaped using a zigzag die. Craftyscrappers have lovely foils for crafting, and I foiled the piece over the double-sided adhesive using the Glitzy Gold foil. I die cut the letters in the sentiment using some alphabet dies about 8 times. The topmost layer was cut from the black and gold strip I made. I sandwiched some acetate between the alphabets A, P and O and filled them with tiny shaker elements from Craftyscrappers. Then I added the sentiment to the card base and matted with a yellow slimline note card to complete the card. Let us look at this one now. I collected a few sentiments from the Craftyscrappers Valentine stamp sets. They are mentioned in the description box. I used different colors to stamp them repeatedly to make a background. You see, such small elements can create a very pretty background. This is my layout. I stamped the little peonies on the background in a cross fashion using some embossing ink and embossed them using different colors of embossing glaze. I stamped and embossed 2 fully bloomed peonies using pearl embossing powder and colored them. Similarly, I took 2 leaf branches and embossed them on vellum with pearl embossing powder. Next, I typed and printed the sentiment, saying it with flowers. Then I die cut the word XOXO 3 times from tangerine colored cardstock and added some white dots to it to make it interesting. Next, I cut the same word from black glitter cardstock and added it as a shadow. Finally, I assembled the card by matting it over a tangerine colored cardstock and adding it to a white note card. And that completes our card, saying it with flowers. Here's another card for a friend. I stamped and embossed all the little peonies and a few leaf images with white embossing powder. Then I colored them using the Craftyscrappers dye inks. I lost some footage there, but all I did was fussy cut and arrange those flowers and leaves on a striped die cut frame and attach the piece to a light blue pierce design background. Next, I stamped the word friend from the same stamp set using lavender and blueprint dye inks to create an ombre colored sentiment. Then I did clear embossing on it and added white dots with a white acrylic pen. Here comes foiling again. This time I printed "You are one in a million" on a white cardstock using laser printer. Then I lay a violet colored foil on it and run it through a laminating machine. Voila! Look, isn't that cool? So finally, I assembled the card by adding the sentiments and added a shaped die cut for a message inside. That's how I completed the third card. Let's look at the fourth beautiful Peonies card now. To start with, I took a 6 by 6 inch white cardstock and traced out a heart using a heart die. Then I started stamping little peonies around the heart shape. I used some masking paper from Craftyscrappers to mask the flowers each time I overlapped them with the leaves. Here is the completed image. I colored the image using alcohol-based markers and then fussy cut the heart-shaped flowers and leaves. For this card, I stamped the French sentiment again, but in black ink, and this time added interest with an orange souffle pen. Then I took a 6 by 6 inch piece of yellow cardstock and added dry embossing using an embossing folder. Further, I added some green dye ink to the embossing and distressed the edges with orange dye ink. I pasted a rust-colored cardstock to its back and some yellow cardstock to create a stand. I cut out a heart-shaped white note card using hard dies and added the fussy cut heart-shaped flowers and leaves to it, with a big blooming peony in the center. I assembled the card by adding the sentiments, "Friend, you make my heart bloom," and that's my fourth card design. Coming to the card using digital Holi stamps. This one is my favorite. To start with, I printed and colored all images using watercolors. Then I made some green cardstock by blending some green dye ink and die cut small tree shapes out of it. The ink blended die cuts give such a velvety effect. Next, I cut out the tree trunks. And now I will show you the background. First, I embossed the card base with raindrop design using embossing folder. Then I colored the raindrops by using Arctic ink and using a blender brush. Later, I colored a few raindrops with iridescent blue watercolor. You know, these digistamps are so versatile. You can change their size, flip them, turn them around, so many possibilities. Well, after the raindrops were done, I added a small ground for my characters to stand on and a frame which I die cut and used a dot marker to make the pattern. Then I die cut out some cloud shapes from vellum in duplicate. I also cut out similar shapes from a double-sided adhesive sheet and added it to the cloud line. This is so I can stick them together on one end to make a shaker. Then I colored the vellum on the back side of one cloud and made a shaker pocket. I hid the adhesive line using a silver marker. Of course, every cloud has a silver lining. Next, I filled the shaker pockets with some matte sequins and assembled the card. First by adding the trees in the background, followed by other elements. This was the trickiest card to assemble, but once it came together, it became my favorite. Here's how the completed card looks. Here's another card I made using the digistamps. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching till the end. Have a good day.